A new day, a new person congratulating themselves on being picked to keep a company's DEI score up. The year's just begun, but where would we be without culture war controversy spewing out of the crevices of the rotting corpse of a once beloved intellectual property? Armin Obaid-Chinoy, activist, director, and ESG hire of Disney's Ray spinoff movie that nobody asked for, said recently in an interview that it's about time a woman shapes the Star Wars franchise. Now, if this doesn't make you want to say, "Get fucked," you're probably living in the same pseudo-reality Armin is. One where there's magically never been a female deeply involved in the creative process of Star Wars, especially since Disney purchased it. Like Ahsoka, a female-driven television show starring Rosario Dawson that released over the summer on Disney+. Or the fact that 4 of the last 5 theatrical Star Wars releases featured a woman as the lead character. Or that Kathleen Kennedy, who is a woman I'm told, is in charge of Lucasfilm. But it's about time a woman shaped the Star Wars franchise, am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Jennifer Lawrence might have been the first woman ever, but Armin is different from all the other women who did the thing first, because she's the first female director of a Star Wars movie. Yes, we have to specify movie because she's not the first female director in the Star Wars universe at all. Bryce Dallas Howard and Deborah Chow have directed episodes of The Mandalorian, but whatever, right? This reminds me of Bill Burr calling out pandering in entertainment before pandering became the popular thing to do in real life.
I rented that movie, Pride recently. It's about the first all-black swim team and the difficulties they had to go through being the first all-black swim team. Let me ask you a question. How many of those white people are evil movies are they gonna make? It's like, it's all the way down to swimming. You know? Where the fuck do you go from there? We do like ping pong? They were the first all-black ping pong team. They're gonna steal the paddles.
Rumors are swirling that Disney is even panicking over their new director's hilarious comments, but how did this catch anyone off guard?
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
Being surprised the political mouthpiece said something cringe is like being surprised the Ultimate Warrior died of a heart attack.
You put the bar on the back and you squat fucking down, feet flat, like you're shitting over a hole. 20 fucking reps!
After years of getting defensive and bitching at fans for pointing out the glaring problems with their films, Disney started paying the price for that this year with multiple films with balloon budgets bombing in theaters. There are still some sad attempts out there to fan blame for pointing out the obvious. An article headlined by Gizmodo reads, "The culture war is already coming for Star Wars' Rey movie," and asks the question, will Disney defend director Armin Obaid-Chinoy and Lucasfilm head Kathleen Kennedy? The exact same kind of headline would have been a regular topic of discussion on traditional mainstream media outlets a couple years ago. Now that kind of argument is so played out it's relegated to Gizmodo. If Hollywood is the visual and audio arm for political propaganda, where art pokes its way through sometimes enough to keep us watching anyway, nothing says they're shoving an agenda up our asses like the producer suggesting there is no agenda while wearing "The Force is Female" on her shirt for photo ops.
Oh my god, what the fuck is going on?
I'm gonna dive into what's wrong and how we got here with this happy horse shit, but first a quick word about Keeps. Today's sponsor, Keeps, is a subscription service that helps men, well, keep their hair. They offer clinically proven treatments that help combat hair loss. It's a convenient and affordable way for men to treat their male pattern baldness from the comfort of their home without ever visiting a doctor's office or pharmacy. It ships right to your door in discreet packaging. You know how I know? Here's a picture of me holding a box of it. This is before I went back to being a Smurf. I got the thickening shampoo and conditioner because you need hair if you actually want to fry it and dye it blue. According to clinical studies, treatments offered by Keeps are 90% effective at treating hair loss and can increase hair growth by up to 35%. Keeps keeps it personal because everyone's treatment plan will look different. Your plan is unique to you and recommended by a licensed medical provider. Whether you're looking to prevent hair loss, stimulate hair growth, or just looking to take better care of the hair you have, Keeps has you covered. Hair loss stops with Keeps. For a special offer to get started, go to keeps.com/moviecynic or click the link in the description. That's KEEPS.com/moviecynic. 2023 might have been the year Disney could no longer pretend their company wasn't pissing all over itself, but they knew they had a problem with Star Wars a long time ago in a galaxy not so far away. In fact, the epicenter of their problems being Burbank, California, right in their headquarters. Disney are sealers of their own fate, let's be clear. They've created the plate of apathy they've served to their fans. Anything here on out is their own doing. Because it sounds like a meme to say, haha, Disney hired an activist. But they literally did that. This is the clown world we walk around in, where fact and fiction are one and the same. We live our own satire. Chris Gore put it best last year when he said, turning Marvel and Star Wars into girl brands will prove to be one of the costliest decisions in entertainment history. And based on the trajectory, it's hard to disagree. Square peg, round hole, these things are never going to align because instead of integration and inclusion like its stated intention is, it's actually forced and exclusionary. Disney being the billion-dollar corporation it is, they probably paid out their collective asses for the most accurate statistics possible on their customers' viewing habits. You know, things that are already obvious to the public without those stats. So why does Disney, and all of Hollywood really, keep fighting against their own interests? Whatever Lucasfilm's been cooking up for Star Wars hasn't gotten an audience's motor revving for some time, so why continue down the same path? Short answer, because they have to. They're required to. It's odd, but they must destroy their own products because of DEI requirements. There's another agenda behind movie production, which is to make art into a business. It's to make money. Common sense says to make movies that people want to see, and you do that by hiring people committed to making the best movie possible. But that's not how things work anymore. Now, every position in a production has to be viewed through the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion first and foremost. When a company's major stakeholders care about that shit, the company now cares about that shit. And the negative downstream effects of that are seen and felt in almost every facet of a production from Disney. They're not alone in this, but we're talking about Star Wars and they're the company that owns it. Let's consider who they got for their new movie. Armin Obeid-Chinoy's work outside of documentary filmmaking and activism is directing a couple episodes of Ms. Marvel. So hiring based on merit wasn't considered for this one. But fuck it, what's another $200 million bomb, right? Disney had plenty of those last year, the more the merrier. Head of studio Kathleen Kennedy hired Chinoy because that's her job. She was given a task, she followed through, and here we are. But Kathleen Kennedy is going to Kathleen Kennedy. Of course she's going to pick an activist with no fictional filmmaking experience.
My greatest asset, to be honest, is that I'm a woman.
To direct a sci-fi action movie with a 9-figure budget in one of the most beloved franchises in the world, at a time when the franchise is at the lowest period in its history. Losing money is just good business here in Goofy Land. After the Disney purchase, focusing on identity politics hurt the major films in the franchise, sullying the success of future projects that would be acclaimed but commercial failures. As fans had already started losing interest in the Star Wars franchise after being burned by episodes 7 through 9. This is a rinse and repeat of Disney's Marvel situation. For Star Wars and the MCU, identity politics infected their marquee productions, making fans reluctant to give a shot to spin-offs, let alone return to the theater for more mainline trash. There's a reason it's been 5 years and counting since a Star Wars movie was in theaters. Through terrible writing, poor planning, oversaturation, and participating in culture wars, the collective groan from fans at the announcement of a Rey movie speaks volumes about where the franchise rests in the minds of consumers, and the mega fans that are their bread and butter. Disney performed an intellectual property mukbang when it gobbled up Marvel, Lucasfilm, Pixar, and Fox over a decades-long period of creative bankruptcy, when they realized it's easier to make your valuation grow when you eat assets like a buffet. In 2012, the announcement of a new trilogy was too tantalizing and the excitement about more Star Wars outweighed any rational skepticism. The Force Awakens released a few years later to record box office numbers, and what many fans claim to be a return to form. Until the hype died down and people realized it was, not that great. And kind of the same damn thing we've seen before. But that was later. At the time, Disney had performed a Houdini, using the smoke and mirrors of nostalgia to trick everyone into thinking what they saw was not only a return to form for a floundering franchise, but maybe the best since Empire.
Fuck you!
The movie was rounded out with a diverse cast, with newcomer Daisy Ridley playing the lead role of Rey, a character that would become the modern face of the term Mary Sue. She's unfortunately set a precedent for how Disney would handle female characters, whose importance would be forced into nearly every appearance they had. A blank slate of a character, she's written lifeless and flawless. You've heard the critiques, you've seen the breakdowns. This character is boring, and nothing felt organic or natural because nothing was. She doesn't face any real struggle or challenge because she overcomes her odds despite any lack of training or previously acquired skill on multiple occasions. That sort of thing is typically reserved for a self-insert character. I don't think J.J. Abrams is a one-to-one match to Rey, but maybe that's his residual self-image. Either way, she fits almost every part of the definition. So the franchise was off to a fresh start with a rehashed plot, story angles that had no planned resolution, and a lead character no one had any real stake in. And the hype was still too much to keep fans away. But that would start to change soon enough. A swift change in Western culture happened around 2016. Not sure if anyone needs a reminder on the obvious there. And the political climate was so polarizing and all-encompassing, it started being felt overtly. That was the year where nuance went to die. Nothing was subtle anymore. Every message was on the nose and in your face. Overt messages in consumable media, usually met with a frown because they're delivered in a ham-fisted way, became the norm. And well, here came Star Wars with a fucking sledgehammer. Rey's the best, don't you know? They made sure she had zero flaws or real struggles in the film so we can understand how awesome she is. You're supposed to root for her, so why aren't you? You're not invested? Are you a misogynist? Disdain for the OG main character of Luke Skywalker was palpable, flipping a beloved Jedi upside down. Or actually, he sucks now, doesn't he? And according to the screenplay, he kinda always has. After fan backlash sent their next spin-off movie Solo into a box office disappointment, Disney hit the panic button and tried to course correct with the rise of Skywalker. Unfortunately for fans, the only thing they could count on Lucasfilm doing is completely missing the crux of the problem. A movie ends up being a piece of shit for a number of reasons, but things happen from the top down. Yes, the movie had a terrible script. No, there weren't really any concrete plans for the trilogy, but they did have top-level talent on multiple fronts for these productions. It always comes down to who makes the final decision and where their core values come from. The company understood the value of Star Wars at the cinema and halted all future projects after the Episode 9 debacle. The one smart move they made, or so they thought. They hoped to keep Star Wars in the cultural lexicon by moving it to the safer bet of Disney Plus for the time being. The thought process was clear. Star Wars is a major intellectual property, so what better way to boost a new streaming service while simultaneously protecting the franchise by keeping it on the small screen for a while? Surely people will watch anything Star Wars if they're just sitting at home alone and don't have to commit to going all the way to the theater, right? Turns out no, people don't like watching trash no matter where they are. Just like the MCU, oversaturation of low-quality productions has sullied the entire franchise. Years later, Disney is still learning that dumping shit onto Disney Plus is also exhausting to people. From the disaster that was Book of Boba Fett, the acclaimed but unwatched Andor, the ratings and reception hit to Mandalorian, or the absolute obliteration and dismissal by fans of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and nearly non-existent reception to Ahsoka, you have a fan base that is rightfully tired of being fed garbage. Of course, with each passing project, Disney's efforts to shield themselves from criticism was implemented with its potency decreasing each time. The most embarrassing moment came during the chuckle fest of Obi-Wan Kenobi. The world drowned in cringe as Ewan McGregor became a pawn in Disney's racism defense. Or was it misogyny? See, you didn't like the main villain because you're a misogynist or racist, or both. Not because the script gave her an idiotic plan and stilted dialogue and shoehorned her into the narrative, forcing Vader to the sideline. You know, the reason you're even watching that fucking show. It's because you don't like black people, or women, or maybe black women, specifically. In the end, there's utility in hiring based on identity politics. It lets potential viewers know where this franchise is heading, and fans can actively ignore it if they want, which by all accounts, a lot of them will, to dramatic box office effect. Looked at with a wide lens, I don't think it's controversial to say that the effects of DEI has made for some bad movies. It's not just what it means for who they hire, which typically is based on race or sex instead of merit. Not to say a person involved in political activism can't make an incredible story, you know? It's not a wild thought that maybe someone might have something to say about the world who can also articulate and express it through storytelling in an engaging way. Unfortunately, we can't even get that compromise from Disney. They're not in the market for that kind of thing. And even the best person for the job can only do so much when they have a demanding studio requiring them to check boxes. This is how we end up with safe, rehashed stories filled with shallow, knockoff versions of formerly great characters. Luke Skywalker? More like Rey Skywalker. Yay. Get with the fucking program. Yay, Rey Skywalker. Fucking woo. A Rey film was doomed no matter what because she's not a salvageable character. She's the vanilla result of everything wrong with politically infused modern mainstream storytelling. And I don't think you can make her interesting because of how creatively bankrupt and lazy they've been with her up to this point. There's way too much baggage, and her bumbled origins alone make the character feel like she's simply not worth the effort. Shit's a lost cause. But we can at least show appreciation for Disney's transparency. Hiring Obey Chinoy lets people know they're still not trying. Not at all. GG's.
And you squat fucking down, feet flat, like you're shitting over a hole.